Welcome back, America. Hugh Hewitt inside of Studio West. Jim Talent joins me, former senator from the great state of Missouri. Jim, I had a very long conversation today with Lord Andrew Roberts about China after I talked to Secretary Rubio about China yesterday, the upshot of which is I don't think either man believes that Xi Jinping is deterred by the United States, that he's going to move on Taiwan at his own time. What do you think?
Oh, I believe it's possible to deter him. In other words, he's going to continue doing the gray zone tactics against Taiwan that they've been doing, trying to subvert the democracy, trying to convince everybody there that it's hopeless to try and resist. The United States is not going to support them. They're going to continue all those gray zone tactics. But whether they do something militarily is going to depend a lot on whether they believe the United States has the capacity and the resolution to inflict real costs and consequences on the PLA, the People's Liberation Army, if they try it. And which is the reason it's so important to strengthen deterrence, both short-term and long-term, in Indo-PACOM.
Well, I assume that they have a big bureau. I assume they have a big bureau of specialists who study American culture and politics. And I bet you they do a printout for the General Secretary Xi every day. And right now they would say, they've got Tesla terrorism going on. Israel's divided against itself. They've got the Democrats at each other's throats. The Republicans can't agree on a budget. They can't get their act together. Donald Trump's moving out, and they're doing lots of challenges to judges, but America's paralyzed right now. Do you think there's a danger of that?
Well, in the first place, I'm not sure that I respect all that much their evaluation of our government or our people, which is not necessarily a good thing, by the way, because they may misestimate. But I would just point out to you that they're also looking at a United States that is moving expertly to advance its interests in the Middle East and in Eastern Europe, where we are working to end a war that has degraded the power of their ally, Russia. And I think we're going to end it on acceptable and honorable terms. They're looking at an administration that is moving as fast as possible to expand our shipyard industrial base, to build up our power in the undersea domain. So, look, I agree with what Rubio said. I mean, I think he said we can slow them down. The Chinese are patient. They're not going to give up. I guarantee you, they're not going to give up the goal of reuniting with Taiwan. And Xi is going to want to get it done before he's into his 80s. But they're also more patient, and they haven't shown a lot of willingness to take big risks.
You see, I think they look at, if I'm them and I look at the United States, I think Trump's a problem. He might shoot me. He might shoot my ships. AOC and her gang, they'll destroy the country in 5 years. We'll be doing gender politics and Tesla terrorism and all the other kind of nutty stuff. But there are two paths in front of the United States, and I think right now it looks like they're going to go the Trump path. You know, whether it's J.D. Vance or Tom Cotton or Mike Gallagher or somebody like that they're going to go that way and they're going to get serious. Do you think it looks like that to them, that we're going to get serious and that Trump has put us on a serious path, or does it look like we're going to go with this? The Democrats have kind of lost their mind, Jim.
Yeah. Well, they noticed, even if a whole lot of people here didn't, the executive order the president issued a couple of weeks ago regarding outbound investment to China, export controls to China, and additional constraints on inbound investment from China to the United States. They are paying attention to the tariffs the president is imposing. They understand that Trump is reforming and building up the national security architecture to prepare for the competition, or you might call it, I would call it a conflict with China, and to win it over a generation. So, look, and the other thing here, Hugh, is if they think that what Trump is doing is a substantial constraint on them, but they might get a more favorable president 4 years from now, well, then they're going to wait, aren't they?
Well, yeah, that you see, Trump is taking us in the right direction. He's done everything right vis-a-vis China and Israel and Iran. I have no comment on Russia because I have no clearances. I have no ability to see into there, but I guess he's doing it right too. Let's assume that he is. He's doing everything right that would make me upset if I were Xi Jinping. But there's a good bet that America goes way wrong, that it doesn't go the Trump way, that it goes the AOC way. So right now if it goes the Trump way, we're the weakest we'll ever be on the Trump way. If it goes the AOC way, we're not remotely close to as weak as we'll be. Isn't that the calculation, the correlation of forces?
Oh, so you're thinking, and there is a danger that insofar as they see us getting stronger and they think, well, they're going to be better able to deter us in 5 years or 6 years, that they might move more quickly than that. I would agree. But there's a lot of unknowns out there. Look, this is the thing I worry about at night. Okay, I don't worry about Russia. I don't particularly worry about the Middle East. You're seeing now that
I worry about China.
Yeah, the United States and Israel together are a hegemonic power that really cannot be resisted in the Middle East.
And you add UAE and Saudi Arabia. Yeah, we've got that down. It's China. China's the problem.
And Putin is basically a busted flush in Eastern Europe. So yeah, I mean, I worry about the Chinese, but they're looking at things like can the PLA actually operate jointly and effectively? I mean, they haven't been in a war for 50 years, and the last one was with the Vietnamese, and they lost it. They're very worried about our alliances with Japan, Australia. They do not want to do something in Taiwan that will produce a resolute and united alliance against them, involving the United States and our treaty allies in Indo-PACOM. There are substantial constraints. They're going to continue softening up the Taiwanese. I mean, when I visited Taiwan a couple of years ago and got a report on what they're doing, and this stuff is all basically open source. They're going to try and soften up, undermine the Taiwanese democracy, and put them in a situation where they agree to a process that eventually ends up with them being absorbed in the mainland. But I think there's substantial constraints on them moving militarily, and we can increase those. And Mike Waltz, we have a national security advisor for the first time who comes from the defense part of the national security spectrum, not the foreign policy part. And
interesting. I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't thought about that. Our friend O'Brien, of course, comes from the State Department wing, and as did Kissinger.
He was incredible.
Yeah, but you're right.
Incredible. The best NSA we've had since Brent Scowcroft.
And I hope Mike. I'm sure Robert O'Brien hopes Mike does better. But you're right. He's a DOD guy. Well said as always. Jim Talent. Follow him on X @JimTalent.